Hello, and welcome to Summoner, part 52. And this part is entirely dedicated to one side quest, hooray! The Secrets of the Dakamin side quest. Now to do this, we need 3 items from 3 different random encounters. But fortunately, they all appear in the same area of the mountains. When you're given a side quest, the priestess will tell you to go to the west. You don't really need to do that. You can just sort of walk around in circles on the mountain, and you'll eventually get these encounters. Now, to show off some of the extra summons here, I have the Spirit of Lahara, which you saw in the previous side quest. Well, not the previous one, the previously made side quest about the Tome of the Neviseum. And you should know that, yep, this summon is pretty useless. Now, one of the stats in the summoner, in Joseph's stat database, is summon itself, and it says if you level up that stat, it will increase the rate of which your summons gain power. And the trouble is, at this point, even though I didn't really level them up before, the summon is at like 8 out of 10. So I do wonder, does it really make a difference? And also, you can see another problem with this summon is, well, for a start, it's weak. You can see hitting these enemies and only doing 2 or 3 damage, but it also runs fast, and it'll run ahead of enemies and pick fights. See, look at it go! And I have to wonder, this is meant to be like the ultimate prize for the ultimate side quest, but yeah, is it really worth doing? But anyway, look at Jakar sort of strutting away here, looking very fancy in his hero's plate mail. And that's another thing too. At this point, we'll be getting like the characters' final costumes or final pieces of armour, and it does look pretty fancy. And it is a nice progression. When we started off as Joseph alone in the broken village of Masad, all by himself with no armour and a fairly weak sword, to now being practically demigods. Now these are 3 random encounters you need. They all take place on this sort of mountain range here. Oh, and oh look, I can see the skybox end. Now we're fighting these blue monitors, which, yeah, are very similar to the ones in the Cavern of Wolong. In fact, I think they're at the same sort of level, so yeah, not really much of a fight. Now the quest item we're getting here is the Heart of the Bullman, which presumably means one of these monitors. And to get it, we just need to make our way through this section. Oh, and speaking of which, I just wanted to show off these items we got from defeating a black imp. So, yeah. You get some items which level up your dark ability, but yeah, it's not really something I bothered with. And again, you can see that I'm leading the party with Jakar, because we all know he's the true hero. You know, I was just thinking, like, red imps cast fire, and blue imps cast ice, and green ones cast poison. So does the black imp actually cast death? Like, if we let him battle long enough, would he cast death, or was it just like low-level dark spells like silence or something? Because I was thinking in the sequel they do have enemies which actually do cast death, and they're annoying. But speaking of which, I would really like to do the sequel one of the days, but after doing 2 RPGs back to back, yeah, it's not going to be for a while. But, yeah, but one of the days I will do it down the line, I think. And yep, near the exit, we find Udakar's heart. And that's the first item of the Secrets of the Dakamin side quest. So now we just leave and search for the next item in the side quest. And yes, it will be in another mountain encounter, so really we don't really have to search anywhere else. Now, of course, you don't always get the encounter you're looking for, so this might take a few tries. Next up, we're getting the the gallbladder of the blue batchoid. Try saying that 3 times fast. So when you get this encounter at night and you get ambushed by these blue batchoids, yeah, that's you know you've got the right one. Speaking of which, the batchoids here, yep, they haven't really changed that much, and they're fairly weak enemies to begin with. Weak against fire, but you don't need to worry about that. Now this is a summon I want to show off here, the Blade of Uraf, and essentially it's a floating sword. It's extremely powerful, but it's extremely weak as well. Like you'll see, it does do like hundreds worth of damage, but a few hits and it's down for the count. Now what's interesting, again, to refer to the sequel, which I know I tend to do a lot, they do actually have a summon in that game which is a floating sword, which I can only presume is sort of inspired by this summon. Now speaking of which, so to actually talk about Pokemon for a second, I've always thought it'd be cool if they had like a magic sword Pokemon that would be like a ghost steel type. And you know what, they've done it. They've done it in Gen 6. We actually will get a magic sword Pokemon, which is so awesome. I kind of wish I could afford a 3DS now, but I'll have to put that in my long-term list. And well, if you didn't notice, because I was talking about Pokemon, yeah, the Blade of Uraf died there. So yeah, that's kind of a shame. But I thought I'd give him a second chance. Now, something I heard about this game in general, in the manual and in FAQs, is that if a summon dies, Joseph loses some of his maximum HP. Granted, with each like death of a summon, it's just 1 or 2 points, but yeah, you don't want to keep doing it, do you? But I guess at this point I'm feeling a bit cocky, so I thought, I could lose 1 or 2, you know, to show off this blade summon. And the thing is, it's a shame it's not more powerful. Or at least it can't take a couple more hits, because it really is devastating. But then again, I guess that would, that would be overpowered. Of course, now I cast Protect, hoping that will protect him against a few more hits. And I just realised what I shouldn't do is I shouldn't lead with the Blade of Uraf. But then again, I think what this blade does is that it runs ahead of you. Essentially, what I'm saying is I would like to get this blade to. I think when it comes to this blade, I should get the enemies to fight my other party members and then use the blade to attack them from behind or something. So maybe I shouldn't even be controlling the blade. Or I just thought, if I had the invisibility spell, maybe I could cast it on the blade itself. Oh, that would be ridiculously overpowered if that strategy actually worked. Now, of course, the enemies I haven't talked about here are the Saurian Knights, the same ones we met in the palace, but with now with a full party, they aren't really too much of a threat. So there you go. And I have to admit, these guys are really loyal. Not only has their prince essentially destroyed Medivh, but we've actually killed their prince. Right? So they haven't even got anyone to follow. But at the top, in the same place again, we find the Batchoid's gallbladder. Lovely. And again, for the third and final encounter for this side quest, we again head in the mountains, and again, hopefully we'll get to the right one. Now, the last encounter we need is the skull. The skull of somebody or whatever. So, yeah, for this particular encounter, we get ambushed by these frozen knights. And yeah, because they're weak against fire, and just weak in general, I thought I could finish them off with a few meteor storms. Now, what's a nice touch is that some of the meteors are actually hitting my party members, but at this point they aren't really. It isn't really doing that much damage. I nearly took out all 3 of them. It was probably just quicker just to bash their heads in with this mace. Now again, this feels very similar to our first encounter on this mountain. Now something I should point out is that something I did was between these encounters, I went back and spoke to the priestess who gave us this side quest to update, just to let her know what's happening. I didn't really get anything for it, but I say that because I don't think you have to talk to her to activate these encounters. Although I could be wrong. What I mean is, I think you get like one item and then you tell her about it, and then when you go into the mountains, you'll probably get the next encounter. And then you talk to her, and then you'll get the next encounter whenever you wander around the mountains. If you get what I mean. But I don't think you have to do that. But I just thought I'll mention it just in case you do. Just in case you try and get these encounters one after another, and you just aren't getting them. Try talking to the priestess. Oh, these ice witches. How many of these have I killed? Keep in mind there are lots of failed attempts. I mean, lots of encounters which weren't the ones I was looking for. And keep in mind with this mountain encounter, you're not put next to an exit to the map. You need to at least make your way across the bridge. Ooh, scary ghosts. Now this is a summon I wanted to show off called the Wraith. Now if you remember in the swamp of Ikamos, we came across a ghost there. And yep, that's the same model, so I guess the developers were a bit efficient with their 3D models. And also, if you remember when we battled the Ghost Rider, not Nicolas Cage, the other Ghost Rider, he summoned ghosts himself. And these again are the sort of creatures he summoned. But then again, I guess there is a certain charm to, fighting these creatures. And then controlling one yourself. I used Life Drain, which apparently depowers enemies. Yeah, and again, I have to wonder, is there a way to make these summons more powerful? Like, do you have to keep using the same ones over and over again? Because otherwise, they don't seem that useful. That, and considering you get some of these summons near the near the end of the game, even if you do have to use them to get experience, would you have to use them a lot? I guess if I was more curious, I would start a new game and then use the first summon, the Fire Elemental, over and over again. Just to see how powerful he got. But you can see the Wraith here, he has lightning spells as well as a few darkness spells like Silence and Blind. And yeah, you can see it does very little damage. But I'll admit, he has a really cool design. But anyway, since we've seen this level 2 times already, I thought I'll just cut to the end. You didn't really miss anything, there weren't any new enemies. Just the same old frozen knights and ice witches. And again, near the exit to the top here, we find the last item we need, the skull of Udakar, or whatever. I'm noticing that Fleece takes a lot of damage. And it just goes to show that even though we're near the end of the game and our characters are much more powerful, they're still fairly vulnerable when they're outnumbered. Oh, it's Hook Kinar's skull. And that will be the final ingredient to the potion. So with this side quest done, we give her the items, and now they don't have to worry about the next flood, because they now have a way to fight it. And now this is the item we get for this side quest, and it's really a good one. I mean, granted, it doesn't break the game, it doesn't make you super powerful, but I think it's very important to get. It's the Summoner's Plate Mail. Granted, it does give Joseph extra 5 on his protection. But that, and it just looks good. I think it's meant to be like the default, or like the best armour in the game for Joseph. Or at least the armour he's supposed to have. and it's wonderful red and it looks badass. And you can see here I'm adding up the protection. I'll get 40 off this plate mail, 15 off the leggings, and yet the summoner's like 65. The plate mail's like 65, so I'll just equip that and oh no, it's only 60. I'm getting it confused with Jakar's armour. But yeah, that's it. He finally looks the part now, Joseph.